want to particularly congratulate President-elect Trump. I think we all agree this is a stunning election and clearly an indication the American people would like to try something new. And I know the Speaker shares my view that we would like to see the country go in a different direction and intend to work with him to change courses, to change the course for America. Our institutions are actually built for this. We have the system in place to consider concerns, and President Trump is 100% within his rights to look into allegations of irregularities and weigh his legal options. If the Democrats feel confident they have not occurred, they should have no reason to fear any extra scrutiny.
That is correct. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell yesterday stopping short of acknowledging Joe Biden's election win as compared to 2016, when he had no issue calling Trump the president-elect before states certified election results. Joining us now, senior editor at The Dispatch, a columnist for Time, David French. He's out with the book entitled Divided We Fall, America's Secession Threat and How to Restore Our Nation. Also with us, author of Winners Take All, MSNBC political analyst and publisher of the newsletter The Dot Inc., Anand Giridharadas. His latest op-ed for the New York Times is entitled Biden Can't Be FDR, He Could Still Be LBJ. Well, we'll get to what the Biden model is going to look like in just a moment. But David French, first of all, what Mitch McConnell said, I think a lot of people on Twitter and screaming, oh my gosh, but it actually was true. You can do what the president is doing, and Democrats are waiting until something like evidence is actually brought forward. None is seen, none is expected. But he has a right to do what he's doing.
Well, he has a right to do what he's doing, but what has to be made very clear to the American people is that this will not upset the election results. I have looked at the lawsuits. I have looked at the viral conspiracy theories. There's nothing there. This is an exercise in futility. And so what's happening is this is being actively, and mainly in conservative media, mainly not from the senators, but mainly in conservative media, this fever is spreading that this is illegitimate. It has been taken away. And then they hear the word lawsuits. They hear the word lawsuits, and they think a judge somewhere is going to intervene and change the results, until you read these lawsuits and you realize they're not even Hail Mary passes. They're insults to Hail Mary passes, because a Hail Mary pass can be completed. So what we're dealing with it's frivolous litigation. There are viral conspiracy theories without any real evidence online. This election has ended. There is nothing that has been brought forward yet that comes close to upsetting the results of this election. And tens of millions of Americans are being told otherwise. They're being lied to. They're being deceived.
So, David, we're hearing Republicans, including the majority leader, bending over backwards to say we have to wait until states certify the results before we can acknowledge a president-elect. We've got to look through all this. My God, we just played a clip of him hours after Donald Trump was given the presidency by the media, the day after Election Day, congratulating President-elect Trump. So, yes, they're within their rights. They're saying what they think they need to say to still, even though he's on his way out, to not incur the wrath of Donald Trump. But what would you hope to hear from principled Republicans in this moment?
Well, what I'd hope to hear is what we've already heard. For example, Mitt Romney, who congratulated President-elect Joe Biden on his obvious victory. And yes, no senator can block any citizen's access to the courts. No senator can block the Trump campaign's access to the courts. They have access to the courts. They will use that. And these lawsuits will work their way through the system, and they're going to fail to stop President-elect Biden. You are allowed to do that. You're allowed to make that assessment as a senator. But I don't think you can overemphasize. It's not just the president that these senators don't want to make angry. It is a conservative media ecosystem that right now, with some notable exceptions, but right now is losing its mind. It is essentially whipping up a frenzy within the American public to the point where a recent poll showed about 70% of Republicans don't believe the election was free or fair, which is absurd. Actually, the election was a tribute to the American electoral process that this many people voted safely in the middle of a horrible pandemic.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.